Okay, this is Jolie here for Fight Hub TV, joined by Danny Jacobs here in Turkey, Istanbul. It's really good to see you. We haven't seen you on Fight Hub for a little while, but we're out here for the IBA convention. There's press conferences, fights, loads of big names as well. And you told me you've flown in yesterday for this big occasion. It's good to see loads of boxers in and around a small proximity, and it's good to see you here this weekend.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure being here. Coming from New York to Turkey, this is my first time here. And I'm really happy to be at this stage in my life. I would say career, but I'm retired now. So, but just in this point in my life where I get to come out, enjoy the festivities, not feel the pressures of fighting, not feeling the pressures of making weight, having to cut and not eat, all of the fighters' mentality. I get to avoid that, but enjoy just the essence of the sport I've grown to love.
That's good. It seems like you're in a good place. Let's talk some boxing then. Obviously, the big one is Canelo Crawford. It's a fight that divides opinion. I heard you mention a moment ago you think Crawford wins the fight. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, I would say Crawford wins the fight based off of the skill set. That's the first and foremost. I think the biggest worry for me when it comes to that is just the size difference. Because obviously, great Mike Tyson said, you have a game plan until you actually get in there and you get hit, and then that changes the whole outcome of the fight. So I'm hoping that he's able to endure what Canelo's going to bring, but I think he has the skill set to be able to be like eluding all of the big shots and hit, not get hit. What does brother Nassim said? He has the most famous quote: "Swim without getting wet." And so I believe if Crawford could be that the night of the fight, I think he'll be successful. I think it'll be a big shock, but not to the ones that know, right? Canelo is the man. Like, take nothing away from him, right? But I mean, if you really look at skill set, not putting in the factors of weight and power, I think we kind of got to lead with Crawford, being that he's so diverse. The dynamic of what he brings to the table is very versatile. He can switch. He not just switch stance. I mean, he can switch style. He can switch aggression. He could be elusive. He could be, So he's very multifaceted when it comes to what all he brings to the table. But that's still my dog. So regardless to what, like, what I mean? Win, lose, or draw. Yeah.
Now, you know Canelo very well as well. I like the breakdown of Crawford and how he can win this fight. You feel that Crawford will win the fight, but how do you feel like Canelo can win the fight? He's obviously the bigger man. How else do you think he could work his way around the one of pound for pound greats of all time, right? In Terence Crawford.
Well, Canelo has a sneaky way of winning rounds. He has a sneaky way of finding his niche. For instance, when he fought the guy that he lost to just recently,
Bivol,
yeah. Shout out to Bivol. He wasn't really able to find that niche there, but in spurts, you can see him adapting, right? And so the biggest difference between Bivol and Crawford is the size difference and the power. Even though Bivol was an ultimate boxer, he still was able to keep him off him with the sheer power and strength. But with Crawford, I think that it'll be challenging for Canelo to get around the skill set, but it wouldn't be challenging for him to be able to endure the pain. And so that's what Canelo would, because the mindset too is, if you can't hurt me, no matter what you do, I'm going to keep coming forward. Yeah. So if Canelo could adapt that mindset, take the shots, because he's going to be throwing, and if you look at the stats too, in terms of punch output, in terms of landing punches, like just the whole stat, Crawford is leading. And so I do think that it's a tough fight, but I will lean more towards Crawford simply of his, skill set.
Is this the biggest fight for his legacy? If obviously he wins, I think
Crawford.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it would be the biggest win. Sure. But given the fact that a lot of people, I think, expect Canelo to win because of the weight, where do you rank this in comparison to that huge fight with Errol Spence?
So if Canelo wins, it would be one of his most top tier wins, but it would also be expected. So I don't know if it would take the umph off of it, rather the other way around, because of the size difference and what all Canelo has been accomplishing for the last however many years, you know. And so I think whoever wins the fight, it'll be looked at as a little bit different. Yeah.
Okay, it's really interesting to hear your opinion on that fight. Did you watch the Jake Paul one at the weekend? A
I
random
did
little.
not. No, I seen the highlight, but it was crazy because um, that was a fight that was kind of offered to me even in my retirement. And it was like a thought, like, oh, do I actually come outside, put my bat suit on and my Superman cape back on?
Can I just interject quickly? You were too soon from retirement to have fought him. I think. What year was this?
This was what? This was early this year. Yeah, this was when I was at the event in England.
Still too soon.
Yeah. And I was just like, man, you know, because too, also, I'm at the point too where I don't want to box competitively anymore. But it's the sport I love. Like, and then the fans love it. Like, if I could give one more go back at it from a what do they call it? A expedition, right?
Exhibition.
Yeah,
Exhibition.
Yeah. So if I can get like an exhibition or something like that, just for the fun and sake of it and giving it one last shot out of pure joy, I would love to do that. Yeah.
What weight would that have been at? Because obviously Jake's a big guy. He fought Mike Tyson. He's around the cruiserweight limit, calling out the likes of Zerdo Ramirez. What weight would you have fought him at?
It wouldn't have mattered what weight at that point because, I mean, the skills is there. It's just when you have to cut weight, you're a lot more sharper. But with a guy like Jake taking nothing away from him, I don't think a weight would have really played a factor.
What did you make of Ryan Garcia versus Rolly? Rolly he's in and around here. I don't know. We've spoken to him in the last half an hour on Fight Hub, and he's a great buzz, great atmosphere, great fighter. And he's proven himself to the masses now with that win. What did you make of that fight? It was obviously a shock that Ryan lost, but for Rolly, it was a fantastic night.
Rolly's a hell of a character, but he's also a hell of a boxer. And I think his style is one of those styles, to me personally, that's very entertaining because it's either he's going to win big or lose big. And so regardless to what, you know, you're going to get his all and what he's able to do, he's going to put 100% on the line. Styles make fights, so there have been times where he came up short, right? But then there are also times where, like, he maxes out on his capability and the style that he puts onto his opponent. So I think that's like a good thing for him. I'm a fan of Rolly too. He's a little crazy. He's a little far out there. I could say that. But just seeing a guy like that, you know, continuously set odds and put him in his favor, right? Well, go against the odds and put him in his favor. I just think it's this beautiful thing about boxing. Like, no matter how much you are a fan of the sport, you fall in love with the fighters. And with a story like his and just fighters like him who've come from wherever they come from and have this dynamic to where you gravitate towards their heart, and like you guys are fighting for the same fight, or you have a heartfelt connection to whatever they're going through in their life. There's so many reasons why we are fans of so many other boxers rather than just being good fighters.
What do you think Ryan Garcia should do next? Rematch? Maybe a step down, build himself back up. What do you think?
That's an interesting question because he's coming off a very unique dynamic with the suspension and coming back and then losing. So it's not really typical for that to happen from a former champion. But, I mean, his team has gotten him to this point. I'm sure they'll be able to figure out what's best. But if I was managing him, I would probably say, let's take a step back and then, you know, 2 steps forward next time around.
What does a step back mean for you?
Lower competition, a fight that can boost your confidence, a fight that, because who knows mentally what the break has done for him or physically, right? And so give him a time to filter out the cobwebs because there's nothing like being in the actual ring in an actual fight. You can work, you can train, but to actually be in there throwing punches with 10-ounce, 8-ounce gloves with a guy that has the same meaning as you do fighting for his family, right? I mean, that's the biggest difference. So just get a nice solid win or two and then come back to calling out the big names. Yeah.
Well, someone who's come back out of nowhere, talking of retirement and coming back, you know who I'm talking about, Manny Pacquiao, Mario Barrios. That's coming up very, very soon. It came out of nowhere. Are you a fan of this fight? As someone who's in retirement, are you looking at that thinking, I couldn't do that? Like, what do you make of this comeback from Manny?
Well, 2 things, right? First, when I first seen it, I said, God damn, Manny is about 40-something years old. I'm only 38 and like I retired. I'm thinking about it, right? But then the second thing is that like I think we all love Manny Pacquiao for what he stands for, his heart, just his nature, and I'm going to be a fan of him regardless of who he fights. But to see him fight a young lion and killer in Barrios, I mean, it's going to be challenging for his last fight. I think that's what he's saying now. This is like,
I mean, he said that a few times. I'm not believing it until I see it, but I mean,
um, but too, I mean, Manny also has the style to be able to be competitive. Like I've always said Manny was like when I was amateur fighting against a novice fighter, because the more seasoned amateurs used to be more systematic and you just kind of figure it out. Whereas the novice used to be all over the place. Like you had to think more, you had to be more aware. Shots could come from places that they don't train you to throw them from, you know? And so that's why I love Pacquiao, because he's so unpredictable and exciting because of that. So I think it'll be interesting, but age is definitely a factor. Barrios will have to really take advantage of that, put the pressure, and use that youth.
okay. Well, if we don't see you fight Jake Paul in the next year, then I don't know when I'll interview you. But it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to speak to you for the first time sitting down one-on-one. Hope you have a good week here in Turkey. It's good to see you, and thank you for doing an interview.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.